Let's discuss this now with a political commentator and lecturer at the Central University of Technology, Leeto Nthoba. Leeto, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Well, you've heard obviously what ActionSA has had to say after they announced their Ekurhuleni mayoral candidate yesterday. The party leader, Herman Mashaba, says that he believes that Xolani Khumalo is the man who will give Ekurhuleni the fresh start it deserves. What are your thoughts?
You know, as always, it sounds like doom and gloom when we come and give analysis and tell you about how the party political system of South Africa is basically heading towards its logical end and something new must replace it. And this is actually one of the markers of a party political system actually in steep decline, right? Where in an election, especially a local election, you get somebody who is actually a celebrity, right, and a non-politician at all, in order to fill the gap of the cult leader that is taken up by the leader at the national level. And so this is actually a natural progression towards the ending of the party political system as you know it. And this actually is happening a lot sooner than most people had anticipated, that the desperation to reaching for celebrity as politician might come a little bit later, but I think the way in which South Africa is going now, the sooner that this is happening, I think the better it would be for all South African citizens in the long run.
Well, that being considered, Leeto, I mean, when we're looking at career politicians, they've clearly failed in many councils as well on different spheres of government, from local to provincial to national. The next best thing would be to pursue activists and ordinary citizens as well, wouldn't you say?
Well, and what our idea, South Africans, of what a career politician is broken anyway, right? A career politician for us is somebody who has been somehow connected with the ANC and has a long-lasting struggle with either apartheid or whatever kind of system that was oppressive towards South Africans. And then the next iteration of that would be a Herman Mashaba, who was adjacent to that struggle but not directly involved. So a businessman who was supportive of the ANC in that era. And so the career politician is not somebody who holds a political science degree, for instance, in South Africa, or somebody who has a law degree majoring in legislation and legislative building. That would be an actual career politician. But what we have in South Africa is these cult-like figures with their names added to a party, and then we call them lifetime politicians or political leaders. And then they have these top-down built parties, right, that are very top-heavy with big names and big man leaders or big man leader syndrome, right? But the problem that now stretches the parties themselves are local government elections, because in local government elections, we don't need the cult leader persona. What we need is our neighbor who's probably politically inclined, who will help us improve our service delivery, improve living conditions around us, and not necessarily somebody we are getting for their fame or is recommended by the party. And that becomes the problem, because if you then ask the logical problem that meets South African parties all across the board, is the bottom-up approach. You ask the normal South African, who is the mayoral candidate for ActionSA in your part of the country? Who is likely to be the candidate for ward councillor in your ward for ActionSA? And then the problems arise, because then you will see that as you go across the country, the board gets thinner and thinner as it gets to the ward level, because the party is not built bottom up, it's built top down. And then that approach is very difficult as a proposition, especially for local government elections. It's very challenging for political parties in South Africa.
You know, just last night, ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba was on this channel talking about that they won't be contesting each and every single ward, that they have categorized it and grouped it into 3 different groups. And they'll be, I think, going for about maybe 40 to 70 wards and councils as well. That being said, doesn't that show a focus for the places that they think that they will be able to govern, because they do already have councillors there. And then talking about the cult-like syndrome as well, when it comes to ActionSA too, when they got a substantial number of seats in Parliament after last year's general elections, the leader, Herman Mashaba, didn't put himself forward to be the face of it in Parliament as well. So in terms of ActionSA, is it fair to then call it cult-like and not from the bottom up, when there is proof to show that it isn't?
Well, so let me start with the not in all wards part, right? And it shows you how it feeds into the cult persona of South African parties. Yes, they then claim at the ActionSA that they're not going to contest all wards. Then I ask you, which wards and which councils are they going to contest most? And then it will be major city centers, major metropolitan centers, the places with the huge money budgets of R1 billion and over that are easier to govern, trying to be the corruption busters, right? That means that if you're in small town South Africa, your fortunes are less likely to be considered by these top-down parties. Then it means that the fortunes of those who are not in the ambit of the big cities, big man leader tent, then are thrown to the wayside. If they're saying that the ANC is so bad, so pernicious, and so corrupt, why are you not challenging them in every place that you can? It's because you can't challenge them because you don't have the personalia to challenge in those places, and you don't even have the depth of knowledge to challenge in those areas. But then secondly, Herman Mashaba as a leader has always been iffy, right? He can't even propose himself as president, even when in radio interviews, right? And so the big problem in that party is that's why you're starting to see career politicians from elsewhere, coming from the DA, starting to sideswipe him and even his decision-making processes in the party. And so that ActionSA is going to not be Herman Mashaba's party for much longer, because he's allowing himself to try and be like this all-encompassing Dalai Lama-like leader who is not taking charge of what the party is supposed to be. And so that's why you find in that void, you get the upstarts who are trying to fill that void of power, either coming from the DA or now this manifestation of celebrity trying to step in, because people then see a natural weakness that doesn't exist in all the other parties that they can't exploit.